All right, welcome. I'm Jim West, the Associate Director at BioTools Innovator, and today is December 17th, 2024. I'm joined here today with Jay Rosanelli, CEO and founder at Syenex, as well as Maurizio Aiello at React for Life, both founders and alumni from our 2024 cohorts. They just graduated the program, so I'm excited to talk to them today. We This is our third info session of four. Our last one will be an Ask Me Anything style format with in conjunction with the MedTech Innovator program. So if you have any final thoughts or questions, that'll be the last time to ask them in a format like this. But this one, we've already covered really the details of the accelerator, the application process, what you kind of get out of it, the different steps and phases. And so Ari will be posting in the chat a link to that info session to review if you'd like. So we're going to quickly go over the program highlights here, but I really want to spend most of the time talking to Jay and Maurizio because they've got great stories to tell, and I think you'll have some great things to learn from them. So, what is BioTools Innovator? We are an accelerator here to help life science startups and companies be successful, to build an ecosystem and a community around them, to connect to resources and investors in the community, and to help ultimately your companies be successful. And by doing that, we can help improve human health and quality of life for all of us. We have completed 4 years of accelerator work, and we're now in 2025 moving into our fifth year. In this period of time, we've helped 63 companies, mine being one of them in the first year, and Jay and Maurizio being two of them from the 2024 last year's cohort. But in that time, we've given away more than $1.4 million in cash prizes, and we have across the companies that have gone through the program, more than $166 million has been raised to date. And just want to show you that the BioTools Innovator is part of a broader ecosystem. We work in conjunction with MedTech Innovator. So if you're a medical device, if you have a product that is used and touched with patients with a regulatory pathway and things like that, I would encourage you to check out the MedTech Innovator Accelerator. They have multiple specialty tracks as well. We also have MedTech Innovator Asia Pacific, focused on the Asia Pacific market entry. And we also now have, for this year, we're a formal tech hub partner with BARDA. And so we're having our program expanded with BioTools Vanguard, which simply means that BARDA is sponsoring 10 additional slots in our accelerator, which is fantastic. So we're going to be able to support more companies this next year. And we also just finished our first funding solicitation on their behalf, where we're able to issue grants to qualifying life science startups on the order of $50,000 to $200,000. And you don't have to be an alumni or member of the cohort to apply for that. It's open to everybody, and we can serve companies around the world. So, um, with that being said, what is a biotool? So this is always a big topic of conversation, and there's a lot of gray zone here. But, in short, our companies are building tools and platforms for life science, and that's pretty broad. And it's sometimes easier to say we don't support biotech companies. So if you're simply building, not simply, if you're just building a drug and you have a regulatory pathway, clinical trials, and you're treating an indication or developing a cure, that would not be a qualifying product for our ecosystem. But if you're building drug discovery, drug delivery, assay development, reagents, any sort of life science tool platform around that biotech use case, more than happy. And we serve a variety of companies from human health as well as ag tech health. And I think, part of what's so important and what we'll kind of talk about later is the importance of an ecosystem. And so, having Jay and Maurizio here, they represent our alumni ecosystem. But, there's a lot of value in different areas. We have subject matter experts, we have investors, and we have strategics. When I came through the first year at BioTools Innovator, it took me 2 years to figure out that biotech investors weren't my investor. And when I came here and I saw the list of people involved, I was like, this is everybody I've been trying to connect with. So having that ecosystem is really important. Who do we look for? We're looking for early to mid-stage startups. So this is pre-seed to Series A or beyond. We're raising our cap. It used to be $10 million of funding raised last year. Now we're expanding that to 25. So we can help a new growing segment of companies. And we ask that they have sufficient runway to execute on your milestones. We don't want you going out of business before or during the program. But if you have any questions about that, please do reach out. Um, so in terms of like qualifications, we don't have strict technology qualifications, but probably you want to have at least a proof of concept and evidence that your product works at some form. But again, if you're pre-seed to Series A, you're definitely in the range. And the last part is incorporation. You don't have to be incorporated to apply, but you do have to be incorporated by the time the program starts. And if that's a challenge, or if you're trying to figure that out, reach out to us. We can talk about it. We'll work it out. Um, and you see the note here, and this is important. It's an accelerator, and you get out what you put into it. So we do ask that if you do apply and you are accepted, that you do commit a member of your team to take on the role and responsibility of engaging with the program and being responsible for the activities within it. What do we charge? We don't take any money or equity from companies, so there's zero cost to apply and participate. We do not cover your time or travel. So we do have a few in-person events at our summit, our road tour pitch events, and our capstone. So you will have to cover those yourself. But as far as the participation in the program goes, you don't have to pay anything. In terms of the selection process, our applications open November 15th. They're closing January 15th, so we've got about a month to go. Last year, we had 300 applications. Um, 20% of those were invited to pitch, and we selected 30. I'm sorry, we selected 20 to be in the accelerator last year. It'll be 30 this year, thanks to the BARDA funding. And at the end, we allow the top companies to compete for our cash prize awards, a $250,000 grand prize, and some smaller prizes. We don't guarantee that won't go up this year. It may, but it's at least going to be the same as last year, if not better. So in terms of timeline, as I mentioned, the deadline is January 15th. We review all the applications. We're expecting more than we've ever had before this year. So if you're able to get your application in early, we will actually be starting early reviews in early January. And when we start getting reviews, once we get companies we like, we start inviting them to their road tour. So the first road tour is going to be in Boston in March 12th. So it's an all-day event. You'll get a morning or an afternoon session block, and you'll do 4 to 5 pitches of your company at a small table with some experts. And we'll let Jay and Maurizio talk about their experiences with this. But it's one of my favorite parts of the program. Lots of value is generated at these events, connections, and even if companies don't get selected, which is common the first time, I still hear great feedback about this part of the program. The second one will be April 2nd in San Diego. Similar format. We're going to be doing a virtual event. If you can't make it to the East Coast, West Coast, or our May 1st tentative European event, then we do have a virtual event, but there's definitely value in being in person. So I highly recommend you earmark your calendar for these events if you are applying, and you can put your preference of location. We'll do notifications in early June after the pitch events, and then the program starts June 23rd to 26th in San Francisco as part of our Innovator Kickoff. And this kickoff is a 3-day summit that goes in conjunction with all of our other accelerators. So it's a lot of people in one place, but it's a lot of intense workshops, conversations, and networking where you also get a chance to meet your cohort and bond for the first time. The program runs virtually June to October. Through that program, we do weekly webinars. We assign specific targeted mentors to you. And we ask you to create a 1-minute video about your company. And then we do a capstone event. We all come together at the end, just BioTools Innovator. And at the capstone, we allow the companies to compete for the top prizes. A little bit of a conference. It's pretty fun. And that's when we close out. So, in terms of the road tour, I did go over it on the previous slide, but these are some of the groups that get involved. So, you can meet different organizations, different companies, different strategics at the road tour. And the summit, I'll go on. It was, we bring in experts, we do workshops. There's a lot of fun stuff around it too. So it's one of my favorite parts of the program, and it's an invite only event. In terms of what you get out of it, we kind of went over this already, but the mentorship, the curriculum. So, if you have any special needs, if you're like, hey, I'm in a really weird position or I've got a really hard problem, we have a great network. So we can actually bring together people to help with any of those specific tasks or challenges and at least get you some strategies and support moving forward. We uh, we have various ways of giving you recognition and visibility that we go throughout the program and beyond. But I think, talking to past alumni, and we've got two here today, but, and in my perspective, the biggest value is not the funding, it's not the education, it's not the recognition, it's the community, it's the connections, it's the contacts, it's the people. To me, I think that's the big value. And then again, we close it all off with the capstone. We do have an award for best video winner, and we have the award for the grand prize. But great networking. A lot of people come out for that, and it's always a good time. So, with that being said, again, like to thank Jay and Maurizio for being with us. I'm going to turn off the slide share, and what we're going to do is for the next little bit, we're going to have a conversation about their companies and their startups and their journey kind of with and around BioTools Innovator. And then at the end, we'll save some time for some Q&A if you all have any questions you'd like to ask. If you do have questions, please use the Q&A box. If they're in the chat, we might lose them or I'm not going to be looking at that. So if you've got questions you'd like to ask, please throw them in the Q&A box. But with that, Jay, why don't you kick us off? Can you kind of just give us an intro about yourself, your company, what you guys are doing, and then maybe how you came across BioTools Innovator in the first place?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. So I'm Jay Rosanelli. My background is in venture capital and in drug discovery. I started my company, Syenex, in 2022 after working at a biotech company called Alloy Therapeutics as CFO and COO. What we're doing at Syenex is we're making components, the molecular biology components that are used in genetic medicines, so specifically the delivery vehicle, expression control systems, the different types of payloads that you want to load into those delivery vehicles. That's our area of focus, and we're doing that to reduce the cost and increase the precision and open up the therapeutic window for genetic medicines, making more medicines viable for commercial development. And that's actually a big pain point today in the space of genetic medicines, despite their potential to cure a lot of diseases. I heard about the BioTools program through a colleague of mine here at the incubator that I'm based in at Northwestern University. We're a Northwestern University spinout in Evanston, Illinois. And they had been in the program in maybe a year or two prior, and I just recommended it. So I ended up on the email queue and saw about the application window and applied. And Jim, feel free to transition to the next question or something. But what I thought at the time was, hey, this is a free program, can't hurt to apply. I actually didn't know that much about it, but because it was a free program, I figured it couldn't hurt to apply. And to cut to some of what we'll talk about more later, is just wildly exceeded expectations. There are lots of programs out there where you're trading, equity for a small amount of cash, and they promise, an ecosystem and promise an educational track and our accelerator track. And a lot of those I've heard have been sort of, mixed experiences, but this BTI program is really amazing. And we'll talk more about it. But yeah, that's my backstory, and was really happy to be part of the program last year.
All right, that's our show. Thanks, everybody. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. Jay, before we move on, I do want to ask you though, you're kind of interesting because you're not a scientist by background, or
Right.
you sort of are, but you had a circuitous route to get here. Can you talk about kind of where the technology came from and how you kind of got
Sure.
involved with it?
Yeah, so I sort of quickly talked about my background. I was originally in pre-med and did neuroscience drug discovery work in college and for an honors thesis. But since then, I was all sort of business path, worked in healthcare investment banking and growth equity investing in tech companies. Um, so, prior to my last job, I was working in venture capital. And in that role, I was focused on the areas of cell and gene therapy, computational biology, and synthetic biology. And it was those major themes and sourcing ideas and deal flow through the tech transfer universe that really kind of opened my eyes to both what could be done and what wasn't being done in the space, and how to potentially do it. And for all you out there, right, tech transfer is a really great place to connect with PIs and with various patent portfolios. And if you have sort of a thesis of your own to go after, you can really find people that are perhaps working in that area. And that's how I ended up finding my co-founder, Josh Leonard, who I met all the way back in 2019. And he and I spoke, just regularly stayed in touch for about 3 years before starting the company, when we had really, the idea had completely coalesced and we knew what we wanted to do.
Great, thanks, Jay. And Maurizio, please
Yeah.
introduce yourself. Tell us about React for Life and kind of how you heard
Yes,
about the BioTools Innovator program.
yeah, sure. First of all, let me tell you that I am absolutely the opposite as Jay because I don't know anything about venture capital and I've never worked into that. I am a scientist, so I have a degree, a physics degree, but my expertise is in cybersecurity. So absolutely different from the life science. But what happened is that at a certain point, I have met my co-founder, Silvia Scaglione, and she's a scientist that works in the organ on chip. Well, for me, React for Life is the third company that I launched because I have always been interested and fascinated by the entrepreneurship pathway. So I launched my first company more than 20 years ago in the cybersecurity field. But then when I met Silvia, I understand that what she was doing could be absolutely brought to the market because we work in the organ on chip, which means that we reproduce and create in the lab different type of organs that can be used, for example, by a pharma company to test their drugs, which means no animal use and fast track to understanding if a drug in a preclinical phase is good or not. And second, our technologies can also be used by university researchers, for example, for disease modeling. So you reproduce a disease and then you can study the disease. Um, how I get in contact with the BioTools? Well, really, I didn't know anything about the BioTools. At a certain point, since we are an European company, we have won different acceleration prices and so on and so forth. And at a certain time, I received an invitation to apply for the BioTools, and I said, "What is this? Is this a joke?" So I was not absolutely sure that it was a true invitation. Then, of course, I took some info and I said, "Wow, this is really an incredible opportunity. Let's apply and see if it works." So at the end, now we are here. So something worked, and I'm very happy about this.
And what I like about having both you, Maurizio, and Jay here is, I mean, you guys, in your own way, you were kind of experienced entrepreneurs who came into the program and were either working in a different industry or working in, kind of putting your world together, Jay. Um, but I guess something, Maurizio, something got you to apply to the program. Yeah, and by the way, we didn't say this, but Maurizio, you're in Italy right now. Your company's in Italy. Um, So what was it about the program or where you were at that said, you know, I'm going to apply for this American run BioTools Innovator program and try to get into it? What was that like?
Well, let me tell you that when I've seen the opportunity, and the first thing that I was thinking is that this is exactly what I need now, because in Europe is completely different. So, for example, our venture capitals are general one, so they're not so in the life science. When I've seen the program, I said, but this is exactly what we need. And by the way, we need also to open our mind. And the US is an incredible opportunity. And so that's what really pushed me to say, I really need to try this acceleration, and then we will see. So this is my personal story.
Jay, do you have anything to add from your perspective on that?
No, I mean, I sort of shared it earlier. I didn't have huge expectations coming in. I just knew that it was a good program, and yeah, I was very happily surprised.
Great. And Maurizio, I was watching you here and I realized I remember the first time we met in person. We were at Bio
Yeah.
and I was walking around the Bio floor and I saw the React for Life booth there, and so we got to connect there before the program even started formally, which happened a week or two after Bio, so that was fun. So I guess just to kind of wrap this part up, you know, what having gone through the program, you know, how would you kind of position the value proposition of BioTools Innovator to other founders thinking about the program? Either one of you can take it. I don't. All right, Jay.
Yeah, I'm happy to go first. So I think, it may sound cliche, but the network and the community, as you mentioned, Jim, is very valuable. The reason it's so valuable is because it's a resource that you can tap back into at any time when you have problems that you want to solve. It can't be emphasized enough, the value of having tens of CEOs that you can very easily contact, or hundreds, in the Slack channel. And there are all sorts of resources that are continuing to become available for alumni and current participants across all sorts of like consultants and advisors and different just resources. So that's one gigantic resource of value of it all. The other is, by going through a program like anything else, a structured program forces you to reflect on the business and really identify what are the most important problems to be addressing, or what you should address, and then the contacts that they'll connect you with as mentors along the way will just completely exceed your expectations. They exceeded mine, and there's just so much for a startup CEO to learn in different areas. And for me, as an example, my area of focus was around business development, creating a sales funnel, and a whole sales organization really over time. And it's an area that I thought I had an inkling of understanding around, and my mentor that I got connected with in our first meeting, used so many words I'd never heard before, and I was like, whoa, I'm on a steep learning curve right now, and it was great. So I think that's the experience that most people have, is you come into this with a handful of kind of burning questions that you have for your business, and you get connected with people that are experts in those exact areas, and it helps a lot.
How about you, Maurizio?
Yeah, and well, before starting the program, for me, the value proposition was, hey, typically in Europe, it exists medtech and biotech, and that's it. It doesn't exist life science too. And every time that I apply for something, could be an accelerator or an investor or something, they say, oh, no, you're not a medtech, you're not a biotech, so you're nothing. So the first thing that I've seen for the BioTool is that, wow, at the end, I've found the first in my life accelerator dedicated to life science tools. So this is incredibly valuable before starting the program. Then after attending the program, of course, I don't want to repeat all the things that Jay has said. It seems that we have spoken before, but we haven't. But we think exactly the same. So the fact is that you have mentors of a level that you don't imagine. Every time you have a problem, you can ask it to the coordinator, and he find something that can help you with your problem and find the solution. By the way, it's not only a question of mentors and teachers and so on, but also I was incredibly surprised by the level of the companies, because all my colleagues in the cohort are incredibly valuable company and colleagues to whom you can ask if you have some issue, and for sure they have similar issues or problems, and they can help you in solving this. Apart from this, don't forget the fact that after attending the acceleration, I understood that you also enter in contact with a network of investors of really another level to the ones that I was used to.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Maurizio. It's funny. I remember I talked to a company last year. They came to what our next topic is. They came to the road tour. They were invited to one of the road tour events, and they were like, "Why should we apply?" And I was like, "Well, what's your next step for fundraising?" They're like, "Oh, we're thinking about our Series A." I was like, "Well, how was your seed round?" They're like, "Oh, it was rough. We had to talk to a lot of people. Nobody really got it. We had to explain it a lot." And they're like, "Do you think if we did the BioTools Innovator, we could, explain our company better?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, for sure. We could probably help you with that." I was like, "But you know, would you rather just get better at telling your story, or would you rather just talk to investors who already get it?" And they were like, "Oh yeah, that one sounds nice." So Maurizio, we'll stick with you, but can you talk about kind of the process to the pitch event? So you were invited, you passed initial selection, you were invited to the road tour. Um, so this is for the people in the room. This would be, after the application phase, this would be the next step. You're invited to the road tour event. What was your experience like, Maurizio?
Terrific. I say, I say, well, I was not prepared for the road tour, so I didn't expect such level of details. So initially I said, "Oh, yeah, I have to pitch," but the people that were in front of me were completely different from the ones that I met before. So they were incredibly expert. They were incredibly high level. They made so clever questions. So now my suggestion for all the people that wanted to try to enter into the program and to go to the road tour is study. Be prepared. Be prepared because the selection is incredibly hard, but it's incredibly valuable. So during the pitch, I really understood the level of the program and the benefit that if you're selected, you can have from the program. So this is my personal impression.
Great. Um, and Jay, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, it's like speed dating pitching where you have 5 to 10 minutes, I guess it's 10 minutes. You sit at a round table of a number of people that are listening to other pitches, but it's just your pitch and you have 10 minutes to do the pitch, or maybe it's like five or so, and then 5 minutes of Q&A. So it's very rapid. You do like 10 pitches, maybe more in that period of time. And, pitching is like anything else. I always think of it like doing stand up or something where you're just refining your pitch and you're sort of reading the room along the way. So you have a lot of people listening from different backgrounds, and you figure out what clicks, what doesn't click, and you can rapidly refine during that period. And it's awesome. I mean, it's something that I think a lot of the members of the cohort even suggested we should do later on in the process, because it's just such a great refinement process. So outside of getting into the program, just doing that is a good exercise.
Yeah. Thanks for that. It's interesting because it's very different than, we say it's a pitch event, and you are pitching your company, but it's so different than other programs. Because normally, you do a pitch event, you get up on stage and there's like three, four, five judges. Um, but that's not this. Every person in the audience is a judge, but you're only talking to 5 or 7 of them at a time. And so you get multiple chances. And people, I even see it like, you do it, one table, the second table, the third table. They start taking that feedback from the first table and the second table, and they're integrating that already on the third table, fourth table, and fifth table. So I think it's great too because it's not just one chance. It's not one shot. It's not like I'm on stage, I got my 10 minutes and then it's over. You get multiple conversations. So even if you have a quote unquote bad table, you're still going to get other chances to talk to other groups of people. And yeah, there's lots of great opportunity there. Did you guys so we always when we host the event, and I don't remember if you were at the virtual event or not, but we always host a social afterwards. Did you guys stay for the social at the event to connect and network afterwards? Jay, I see you nodding your head.
Yeah, I did. I was in the Boston East Coast one, so yeah, it was good. And you start to see, I guess what it really is during the pitch, you don't get to go around the table and say, why don't you all tell me who you are and what you do? So it's nice at the social afterwards start understanding who exactly was in the audience and the depth of the network.
And that was one of the questions I answered in the chat was, are there real investors judging the event? And the answer is yes. Yeah, we have real investors, real subject matter experts, real strategics at our events, um, that are interested in meeting with companies like you. All right. So one other thing, it's really, it's a pretty competitive program. So, congratulations for making it in. But did you guys make it in on your first try, or did you come back your second or third year to get in?
Well, for me, I think I shouldn't say luck, but yeah, I was lucky. I won at the first year, and it was amazing. After all the pitches that I gave and the score that I obtained and the comments that were absolutely precise, it was amazing for me to have seen that I was included in the program in the first year. Let me tell you that before you attend the program, it seems that you say, "Oh, this is yet another accelerator." But at the end, now after having done the acceleration, I would say I would try also if I hadn't won, I would try also the second, the third, and fourth year. Yeah.
Yeah, I was also in the first round, but I agree, multiple applications is wise, and I think that this program again wasn't really on my radar to begin with, but after going through it, you see that, I mean, as Jim was alluding to, like there aren't any BioTools accelerators, or if there are, this is by far the best one, and all sorts of industry experts in the space and investors know that, so it is a good credential.
Yeah. So in terms of the judging of it, you guys did that. Congratulations on your first time. But if you don't make it, it's really common. I mean, it's very competitive. So we encourage you to come back, and we love to see the growth that happens between there. Um, so during the program, some of the benefits we provide obviously is like the curated mentorship as well as networking opportunities. Um, do you guys have any stories, any sort of like impact you'd care to share about maybe how the mentorship or networking impacted your company or your growth?
Yeah. Would you like me to start?
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. For example, well, we had many problems before starting with the program. Some of them, of course, we solved, some other not. But one of these were related to the business model. So the fact that okay, we have customer, we are making some revenue, but how can we scale? So how can we reach more customers, and how can we make our business repeatable? Because it's completely different when you sell your technology one time, or if you're able to create recurring revenues, for example. So this means changing the business model. And yeah, we have spoken with our mentor, and it was absolutely surprising the fact that she could help us a lot. And so at the end, we changed our business model, which is very, very interesting. But if you also tell me, if you also asked me something about a story that I could tell, which also, if it doesn't involve the mentor, I wanted to tell a story, a real story that happened to me during the acceleration. So you remember the 2 days that we did in the Silicon Valley was
The summit.
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, the summit was incredibly crowded, a lot of people that you met, and the fun story is that at a certain point I was having my lunch in a hidden place because I wanted to eat by myself. And immediately 2 people came to me starting, hey, nice to meet you. I am X and Y, and so on and so forth. Okay, nice to meet you. And they made me some questions. And in 5 minutes, after having answered the question, they told me, I understood you are doing this good, this is wrong, you must change this and that, and modifying this, you will obtain that. And then I said, well, but to understand this, it needed to me 5 years, more or less. And you told me in 5 minutes, how is it possible? It's not possible. And so the two guys, really, it was a guy and a girl, they gave me a business card, and they were two CEO of very big company. And they said it's normal because we typically have this issue every day, and so we share with you this knowledge. And I was really incredibly surprised by this, because really, believe me, in 5 minutes they understand everything of my business, and they gave me very, very important things. So this is another story that I would like to share, even if it is not by mentors, but I can consider them as mentor.
That's great. We don't guarantee a 5-minute revolutionary business insight for everybody who comes in the program, but thank you, Maurizio.
Yeah, I'll just say that I had a similar experience actually at the summit where, you're just meeting all sorts of really interesting people. It's essentially all the mentors that get assigned to people. So these like offhand conversations end up being pretty useful and thought-provoking. So I had the exact same experience.
Uh, Jay, maybe you could help build here. So in terms of peer and cohort engagement, we have our leadership pods and things like that. Did you engage with your leadership pod much when you were in the program?
Yeah, yeah, we met almost every week. Maybe it was every other week sometimes, but it's great. It's great to have any CEO groups. The incubator that I'm in here at Northwestern, we do these monthly or so roundtable type of lunches, and those are very useful. And this was the same sort of thing, more relevant because everyone is in the same sort of BioTools stage. But yeah, I mean, everyone says, right, being a founder, being a CEO, it's a very lonely job. So it's nice to have a network of people that are in a similar position. You can talk about what you're having a hard time with, and a lot of those things you can't really talk about with the rest of your team or anybody else, your board, your investors. So yeah, it's great to have that community.
Maurizio, did you in terms of what you said was kind of interesting. You were in a different industry before. You were in cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Um, did you find there to be significant challenges or differences sort of transitioning from, one known industry to another one that is I'm assuming fairly different?
Well, for me, really, I would say not. It probably depends also on my study. So, the physics degree is a very general and broad one. After having had my degree in nuclear physics, I switched to work for a pharma company in molecular dynamics. So really, it was not so different for me, because I have worked also in biophysics, and I'm a very curious person. Therefore, really, believe me, after 20 years of cybersecurity, I was tired. Even if I reached some points where I am a recognized person in that field, but I was tired. I wanted to change something. Probably could happen also in React for Life when the company will be launched. I will I will switch my interest. I'm not sure, but no, really not. For me, it was not. By the way, also consider the fact that in the company, my role is entrepreneurial one, so I'm not a scientist, and therefore, of course, I don't have to study a lot, and the business is business, you know. For sure, Jay knows better than me.
Awesome. Okay, well, before we came on, we were having a little bit of a catch up and a discussion, and one thing that I think is pretty exciting for both of you is you're sort of coming upon similar stages at the moment. So you are both were telling me that you're in the process of closing, your next significant round of funding. Um, and I think Maurizio, you also, I think we mentioned this. You had the distinction of being the only company in last year's cohort. At the end of the program, you were cash flow at least neutral on your company. So
News, news.
you will survive forever with no external events.
Well,
Um,
I hope so. Even if it is not my purpose to survive. I would like to scale, but in any
now,
case, yeah, right, yeah.
but for a lot of founders out there, that's a milestone, that everybody's looking to get to. So congratulations on that. In terms of your next round, and share whatever details you're comfortable with, but could you just kind of talk about that process, the challenges of it, or the timeline of it, or what kind of it took to get that together to the state that it is right now?
Yeah, but what about the fundraising or about the
Yeah,
path?
so some people in the call haven't fundraised before, or they're fundraising right now, or they're going to be preparing for fundraising. So just kind of, a little bit of knowledge or, experience sharing. What would you tell the people watching right now about, their next fundraise process?
Yeah, for me, fundraising is extremely difficult because of so many things that I really don't like very much. For example, the fact that you need to prepare a story, so you need to create a storytelling. This really is a thing that I don't like, but I have learned that it is absolutely necessary, because if you don't create a story, and if you don't show to the venture capitalist the fact that your brain is in an entrepreneurial state, even if your idea is fantastic, you will not raise money at all. So that's why, for example, our first Series A, let me tell you, because now we are in the process of closing a funding round about 7 million or something like that, which in Italy is a very big round. Well, it took to me 7 years, and this is also why we are now cash flow neutral, because due to the fact that it is difficult for us to fundraise for different motivation in Italy, in Europe. Now I don't want to go further into this topic, but then we had to immediately generate revenues. So also our business model, the technology that we developed, and everything was in a certain way in the direction of making something that could be immediately sold and put on the market, so we can generate revenues. From another point of view, this of course has some advantages, because, for example, when I manage a deal with venture capital, I can say, "Hey, guy, I'm here. I'm cash flow neutral. So if you agree with my conditions, we can have a match. If you don't agree, okay, I have not so much problem. But I don't know if our pathway is a path that I suggest to other people. This is our personal story. Yeah, that's it.
Thanks. And Jay, you as well. You're in the process of closing up your next round. I think your Series A. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I can't share too much at this point, but we are closing our financing round, which is a very important milestone along the way, keeps the lights on, and I could definitely say that the BioTools program helped connect us with some of these investors. So
Great. So we've got a few more minutes for questions, and then we'll open it up to the Q&A. I guess in terms of um in terms of important lessons you've learned as a founder, um, what do you feel is like something you'd like to share in terms of uh, a lesson learned that you would like to sort of share with the group here? Jay, you can go first.
Hmm. Um,
But in general, or from the
yeah.
program?
Uh, it could be either. Again, I think it's great to hear your story. So if you want to tie it into the program, of course, that's great. But yeah, I'm curious about your personal thoughts in terms of your journey, what you've learned, and what you'd like to share.
I think, something that came up in our pod groups with the CEOs is just, being as a founder, just remembering that it's a marathon and trying to maintain your mental stamina because it can be a roller coaster along the way, which is, important because one way to, if you want to fail, right? Like make sure you don't burn out. And that's probably my big one. And my very minor one is, and something that I really love is uh, a really fun way to firm up your storytelling and your pitch is sometimes to just pitch to someone that doesn't know the business that well, and then ask them to sum up what you just told them. Because they generally will sum up like whatever was actually important, and you spend so much time explaining kind of minutia along the way because you think it's important. And the whole point of a story is to tell a story that someone else can then tell someone else. So it's not even so much about what you're saying; it's about what the next person is going to say to the next person. So you need to just boil it down.
I love that. It sounds painful.
Yeah, and for me, if I can add, I would like to add on the two things. So, as a founder, I've learned that well, really, it's a long way to the top, as ACDC could could teach. So it's an incredibly long and a tough journey. So this is the first lesson that everyone must know when they decide to launch a company. Second is the fact that you absolutely need to network with people that already is in the field of business to gain from their expertise. So you must absolutely uh, uh, gain every drop of knowledge that you can from the network, because it is very important. And the third one is the fact that use the lean startup method. So to refine your product, in our case, because we create life science tool for organ on chip, you must use the lean startup. So you must create something, speak with the customer, allow the customer to use it, and then refine, having their feedback. From the accelerator, I probably learned the most important thing, which was a limitation for us, which is think big. We are a European company, so we typically don't think big. So, for example, I told you my pathway creates something that I can sell, that I create revenue, and so on and so forth. This doesn't mean think big. This means think how to survive and then eventually grow. What I've learned from the program is that you must think big. For example, now after the program, now we are thinking to open a subsidiary in the US. We are thinking how to make a new funding round in the US to create new business opportunity and so on and so forth. So this is one of the things that I learned from the program. But really understand me. If you speak with valuable people, you don't see any barrier. You don't see any other way to do that. So the fact that in the program there are so many excellent people and mentors and teachers and so on and so forth allow you to think, well, I can do it because I have support, and if I have some problem, I ask to them. They did it, so I probably can do it by myself, and so on and so forth.
Great. Well, thanks, guys. We'll go to some Q&A real quick. So if you have any questions for Jay or Maurizio, feel free to put them in the chat or for me as well. We'll start going through them. So The first question here, this program seems to be biopharma development tools oriented, where a novel clinical analyzer modality and reagent chemistry play for clinical diagnostics for CLIA labs, develop tests, and eventually a 510(k) path. Are we a fit? And the short answer would be yes. I think you are a fit. We are, I would encourage you to go to our website and you can look at the history of companies that have been through the program. You'll see a great range of different types of companies, but even that's not fully inclusive. So we're always trying to look to grow, who we can support, how we can help them. And if there's no other companies like that, it may just mean that, you could be the first. Um, Pre-seed to Series A is rather broad. Can you share some insights on the top 5% of companies that were selected from the program last year? Do they have anything common that made them stand out? Were they all Series A stage companies? And what advice can you share if you are pre-seed or seed stage that can help you get in the program? So, uh, yeah, I think, what we're looking at here with Jay and Maurizio were two seed stage companies that made it into the program. When we look at the statistics of the program, it's generally about 50-50. So about 50 are kind of in the Series A stage of development, and about 50% are in the seed and a few pre-seed stage companies. So pre-seed would be our smallest category. It's early, but definitely still possible. So in terms of what we're looking for, it's that whole range. So what we're looking for is great founders with interesting technologies that can change markets. So if you can, do all that, uh, you'll be a great fit. Um, Also, geographically, this came up in another question. We absolutely don't have any defined, like we need 5% here, 10% here. We don't put any geographic sort of like focus in our review process. But historically, it tends to be about 20% of our companies are EU based. So for what that's worth. Um, what kind of data is expected from an early stage tech company in mRNA therapeutics, or is BioTools more suitable for diagnostic companies or companies with tools for other researchers to use? Um, so again, if you're developing a clinical indication with mRNA, you're probably not going to be a fit for the program. But if there is a platform, if there's a tool impact, if there's a manufacturing modality around it, that could be a fit. So if you have any questions or it's a bit of a gray zone, please feel free to reach out personally and be happy to discuss that with you offline. Um, So does simulation data count? I don't have the funds for experimental data yet. What is the earliest acceptable stage? Again here, we don't have any strict requirements on technology, proof of concept validation, or anything like that. I don't actually make the decisions. We have a group, an ecosystem of people who help inform that process. So there's not any sort of specific one thing that's required or important. Um, but I think, I would still encourage you to apply. Oftentimes, it's a little bit less about the actual technology and it's more about the business, the entrepreneur, and the opportunity. So, the benefit, if you're early, the benefit is you can still get some early feedback, and that can help you learn a little more about where you are today. And if you choose to apply in the future, and you don't get in the first time, then it'll give you a leg up with some feedback that you can address for that next year. Can a company with no external money raised but funded through a CRO be advised to apply or not to? Some VCs see this unfavorably. We don't have any requirements about raising money or not raising money. Generally, companies raise money to scale and expand. It's sort of high growth, capture market opportunity. But that being said, it's not a requirement, and there are companies that haven't raised money who make it into the program. So either reach out if you have any specific questions, or I would still encourage you to apply. Um, I'm the founder of an early stage startup. I do not have any prototype yet, and I have minimal proof of concept. Have you ever chosen a company at this stage? The answer is yes. We have. And it's tough because, you're going to be going up against people who do have, exciting technologies with more data. And so, it's not that you won't, but there's a chance. And it's important to remember, the higher earlier you are with the less data, the higher risk there is. And so with that higher risk, we would look for something that would probably be a pretty impactful and technology that could have a chance to really make an impact, once all the details are proven out. So that's into the questions. We actually got through them all. So Maurizio and Jay, before we close, we got a few more minutes. Any last words of advice about why the people who are still in the call should apply before we wrap? Maurizio, you can go first.
Yeah, sure. Well, Jim, I've sent invitations to people to company that I know, telling, oh, there is this opportunity. Please apply to this accelerator because it is really an added value for you. And some companies told me, oh, well, Maurizio, okay, thank you very much, but now I'm searching for funds. Okay. Another one told me, well, I'm searching for distributors. Okay. Another one I said, well, I'm searching to things to scale up. Okay. And so they said, so I cannot apply. And I said, no, you haven't understood. If you have these three issues, you must apply because this accelerator can really help you with all of these three. So the fact is that if you want really to learn something that can help you to scale up, to have a good networking, to have a big mentorship opportunity, and really to change your mind, please apply. This is your occasion to do that.
Thank you, Maurizio. And Jay.
Well, I can't say much more than what was already said, but I will say that biotools in this broad category that we call biotools here they're extremely important for human health and for the future of the entire healthcare industry, and it doesn't have a natural home in many places, and this is a unique place for that, where this is a growing community with alumni and more mentors, and the BioTools Innovator team and the Innovator broadly team that is very impressively investing in making this program better and better. They're already the best in the world at this, and that's going to continue to improve. So, associating yourself with this, it's an improving brand over time and improving network. So the value goes far beyond what you get in the near term.
All right. Well, hey, Jay and Maurizio, as always, great to see you guys. Um, I hope, Jay, I think at least we'll be hopefully seeing you at JPM in a
Yep.
few weeks. But if anybody else is still have questions, we have one more info session coming up in a few weeks with Nicole at MedTech Innovator. But otherwise, thanks so much for joining. We'll be posting this link to everybody who signed up so you can have the video link and we'll put it on our website. So thanks so much, guys, and we'll see you around.
Take care.